What's up, nerds and geeks? My name is OMG WTF LOL FTW BRB. Welcome back to more Total Extreme Wrestling 2016. We are playing as the WWF in the year 2001, but more importantly, we are booking the Invasion angle. And tonight we'll be running Friday Night Smackdown. Not Friday Night Smackdown. We'll be running Thursday Night Smackdown. And this Smackdown is the first official show under the commissionership. I don't know if that's really a real word, but under the commissionership of William Regal, who revealed last week after he punched Mr. McMahon in the jaw, sending him to the hospital and preventing him from being on TV this week. He revealed that he was aligned with WCW all along, so a little bit of fallout tonight. No locker room incidents, so we can just go ahead and run the show. So we have a total of 2 pre-show matches, just a way to get some main eventers on the card, nothing really special. Our first match, we have a B- and a decent pre-show match. Chris Jericho defeated Hugh Morris with the Walls of Jericho. Jericho had a B+, Morris had a C. No worker improvements. And the main event of the pre-show gets a B- as well. A pre-show bout that had good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd. The team of Big Show and the Brothers of Destruction, Kane and The Undertaker, defeating Diamond Dallas Page and Chronic when Big Show defeated Brian Clark with a chokeslam. Unfortunately, DDP was off his game, it would appear. Undertaker's performance stood out, or really stood out, it said. So Kane had an in-ring performance of an A, Taker had an A, or A star, I should say. Big Show had a B+, Brian Adams at a C, Brian Clark at a C-, and DDP at a B+. No worker improvements, though. So now we're moving on to the start of the show, and we start off the show with a A rating. You won't hear me complain. An A rating? Hell yeah. An A rating, and it says, Thursday Night Smackdown starts off with various members of WCW, that being just Lord Steven Regal, Shane McMahon, Flair, and Benoit. Everyone in the ring's in a cheerful mood. Shane McMahon, he takes the mic and he says, Welcome everyone to WCW Smackdown. Now last week, in case you've been living under a rock for the past week, last week on SmackDown, you all saw the perfect plan fall through. And that's all thanks to one man. A man who stood by the side of my father for months just to earn his trust enough for WCW. That man is the commissioner of WCW SmackDown. Ladies and gentlemen, Lord Steven Regal. Regal then steps up, he takes the mic, and he starts waving to the fans. He then clears his throat. He says, Thank you so much, Mr. McMahon. I'm sure that you're the only person who can understand what I went through and what I saw being constantly by the side of Vince McMahon for practically, not partially, even though that's practically what I wrote, for practically 24 hours. But it's all worth it, and I'd do it again for WCW. Now, truthfully, I was hesitant at first, especially given my past with WCW. But after Shane laid out a plan for me, I saw an escape from my hell. But right when he says hell, Regal is suddenly interrupted by the music of The Rock, who makes his way towards the entryway. And Regal responds, The bloody hell do you think you're doing out here during this historical moment? But before he can go on, Rock just goes, Shh. Can't you hear? That was a Vince Russo accent for The Rock there. Can't you hear that the people are chanting The Rock's name? People, of course, chant The Rock's name. Now that the people's voice has been heard, it's time that The Rock's voice has been heard. Did you just say The Rock was interrupting an historical moment? Do you think anyone is going to remember this moment in the future, especially after WCW loses this war? No. This moment will be a trivia question because it doesn't matter if you got Lord Benedict Arnold as your SmackDown commissioner. It doesn't matter. Where was I? It doesn't matter that he's come running back to WCW because let's not forget that SmackDown has never been and never will be the WWF show. It will forever be The Rock's show. And I'll be damned am I about to lay down and let you take what belongs to The Rock. My Rock accent's not the best today. I acknowledge that. I don't know if any of my accents will be the best today. I got up just about an hour ago, and I have work at 10 today, so about little less than 2 hours now. Well, not a little less, a little closer to an hour now, but let's not get into statistics here, shall we? Regal then goes on, you mean what belonged to The Rock? Because it doesn't matter what you say and what you believe in your stupid little mind. Because the fact is, SmackDown is WCW show now, and it will forever be WCW show from now on. And since this is a WCW show, you've really got no reason being here. But since you are Rock, you might as well compete. And since I'm the commissioner, I have the ability to put you in action. So tonight in our main event, it will be you, The Rock, taking on the WWF Intercontinental and WCW United States Champion, the heir to the Nature Boy name and the protege to the Nature Boy Ric Flair himself. Tonight you face Chris Benoit. And then Rock just replies, so we go from one traitor to the other. You think The Rock is afraid of your little challenge? You think The Rock is afraid to face Chris Benoit? Because the only thing The Rock has to say to that is, just bring it. And I imagine The Rock's music hits, segment ends, and then we go on to our next segment, which will just be the announcers pretty much talking about how later on tonight in the main event we will see The Rock battling Chris Benoit. So Michael Cole and Paul Heyman's announcing was really pretty weak as usual. It did get the show off to a strong start, got the crowd hotter. Unfortunately, Regal performed poorly, but that's okay. Benoit looked good, Rock looked good, and the invasion angle gained some heat. Also, Chris Benoit improved his acting and is learning to show more charisma. That's pretty good. I appreciate that. So like I said, we then go to the announcers just talking about how we will see The Rock take on Benoit tonight. Then we go to our opening bout of the night that gets a B- and a decent match. Bradshaw and the team of Test and Albert, TNA, defeating Team WCW, Ron Simmons, and the team of Chuck Palumbo and Shawn O'Hare, the Natural Born Thrillers, when Ron Simmons intentionally got himself disqualified while fighting Bradshaw. So the way I'd imagine things happening here is, for one, we made this our... Where do I show it off? Is that in here? Yeah. We made this our Wild Brawl match of the night. So basically, like I was saying, what I would imagine happening here is Bradshaw and Farouk, or Ron Simmons, I should say, are in the ring right now. They're duking it out. And at one point, Ron, who's most likely, he's getting his ass beat by Bradshaw, slides out of the ring. Bradshaw follows. Ron goes to grab his Hardcore Championship. Bradshaw turns him around. Ron turns around and plants Bradshaw down with the Hardcore title. Referee seeing that leads to disqualification and letting WWF win this match. Of course, Shawn O'Hare is still injured, but I believe this will be the last time he's injured, unless we use him on Sunday Night Heat, but I don't think I will. Of course, there was not enough selling shown, unfortunately. So Albert had an in-ring performance of a C+, Test at a B-, Bradshaw at a B-, and everybody on Team WCW, O'Hare, Palumbo, and Simmons, all at a C+. So Bradshaw and Test had the best in-ring performance tonight. And that, of course, moves along the two storylines we have right here, the tag team storyline and the Bradshaw-Ron Simmons storyline. Test is improving in flying. Not exactly sure why. I don't know anybody on this team that flies. And Shawn O'Hare is improving in performance, so that's all good. Move on from our next segment. I'd imagine this being back from commercial break. Kevin Kelly, he's backstage. He's about to interview Ron Simmons. And he says, ladies and gentlemen, my guest at this time, the WWF Hardcore Champion, Ron Simmons. Ron Simmons then enters and he says, Ron, we just saw you in six-man tag action with the Natural Born Thrillers, taking on your former tag team partner Bradshaw, along with TNA. And you got yourself disqualified on purpose, and, well, I was just wondering why. Simmons then responds, why? Not that I owe you an answer, but I'll tell you why. Because I don't care about that match. And plus, I've said it before, despite me siding with WCW doesn't change the fact that Bradshaw's a friend. And I'm not trying to fight a pal. But he can't really continue to go on because he might not be trying to fight a pal, but Bradshaw is. Because Bradshaw comes from behind, he jumps Ron Simmons, takes him down, starts beating him down, and he keeps shouting at him about their friendship, about how, you're a pal, I'm your pal, that's why you sneak attack me. at SummerSlam to take my hardcore title and then plant me with the same title just a few minutes ago or something. After beating him down, he then kneels over a beaten down Ron Simmons and he says, and I want you to remember one thing, Ron. If I had a referee with me, I'd be the new hardcore champion right now. But as your friend, I'm going to beat you the old-fashioned way. I'll see you next week, Ron. And then Bradshaw walks away, insinuating, and honestly, let's be honest, spoiler report, this is what's going to happen next week on Smackdown, a hardcore championship rematch between the two former tag team partners. It got the crowd hotter. Interesting. No worker improvements, unfortunately, though. We then move on to a B+ rating. Triple H's music hits. He makes his way to the ring while the commentators talk about his feud with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Once in the ring, Triple H takes the mic and he says, Austin, I'm tired of this game of cat and mouse. Week after week, I've hunted you down and beaten the holy hell out of you. And I won't stop until I get my revenge, my vengeance. You used me for months, kept me on your good side so I wouldn't come take that title from you. And now that I'm gunning for you, you gotta send your wife to do your dirty work? And now you got a protege? Rhino, fair warning. Listen, and listen good. You are not his protege. You are his lackey. The guy who do as he says and takes the fall when he doesn't want to. Trust me, I've been there. But if you do decide to stick around and get in my way again, I promise you things won't go the same way as they did on Monday Night Raw. In fact, I'll end your pathetic career right there on the spot. That's when Shawn Stasiak's music interrupts Triple H, and we pull up our notebook. We go to our second promo of the night in the notebook and our last. So Stasiak's music interrupts Triple H. He makes his way towards the ring with a mic in a hand, and he says, Triple H, apparently you didn't hear Mr. Regal earlier. This isn't a WWF show. This is a WCW show now. And if you WWF guys are going to invade our show, then you're going to have to pay for it. Triple H then goes, okay, buddy, two things. One, I don't give a damn about this idiotic war going on between my father-in-law and my brother-in-law. It's not new, and I'm not a part of it. And two, who the hell do you think you are? Stasiak, now in the ring, replies, I'm Shawn Stasiak, and I'm wrestling royalty. My father, Stan Stasiak, is a former WWE champion. I'm destined for greatness. But tonight, I'm the guy that's going to kick your ass off our show. He then swings, connects with Triple H's jaw, takes him down, and that starts our next match, which is a rando match between Shawn Stasiak and Triple H. Of course, Triple H and Stephanie have great chemistry, as they always do. Triple H was the real star in this segment, as I would expect him to be, and Shawn Stasiak looked lost out there because, well, let's be honest, he's a lower mid-carder. We are going to be changing his gimmick. Let me move this out of the way real quick. We're going to be changing his gimmick. He was originally Badass. We're going to the second-generation star because I figure that's kind of what I'm hinting at right here with him being the son of a WWE champion, or former WWE champion. So he switched to the second-generation star gimmick, and it has got an initial rating of average. So that's not bad. Oh, I didn't look at worker improvements. That's okay. Moving on to our next segment, we got a B-. Wow, a B- for a Shawn Stasiak match. Who would have ever thought? And a decent match, Triple H defeating Shawn Stasiak in 7 minutes and 27 seconds with the pedigree. Of course, him and Stephanie have great chemistry, but what's interesting here enough, Triple H and Shawn Stasiak have great chemistry, and it showed in their performance. That's probably why we got a B-. Either way, Triple H looked excellent out there. He had an in-ring performance of an A star. Shawn Stasiak had an in-ring performance of a D+. No worker improvements, unfortunately. We move on to the next segment, which gets another A. Nice. 2 A's? I can handle it. The match is over, but instead of Triple H's music playing, Stone Cold Steve Austin music hits. Of course, Triple H stands near the ropes. He starts waiting for Austin to come out, but instead, out comes Rhino, the protege to Stone Cold Steve Austin, as we found out on Monday Night Raw. Rhino races down to the ringside. Triple H starts, daring him, begging him to get in the ring with him. But Rhino just stands there and he smiles as he starts to point behind Triple H. Triple H then turns around and he sees Steve Austin standing there. Austin flips Triple H the bird, hits the stunner on him, and then as Triple H lays there, he calls for some beer, and he and Rhino toast and drink over Triple H's body before walking off. So pretty much Austin and Rhino getting the upper hand on Triple H right here. Did deserve better announcing, but again, what can you do? Austin came out looking excellent in this. Triple H was the real star in this segment. Rhino, Any worker improvements? Nope. So we move on to our next segment. We get a C+. Edge and Christian, they pull up in their car. Once they get out, we overhear them arguing, and Christian says, "All I'm saying, bro, is you haven't been on a roll lately. You lost your, pun intended, edge." Edge then, laughing goes, "That was clever. But Christian, I think you're failing to acknowledge that the reason I've lost all my recent matches is because of you." "Me? Now you're just making excuses, Edge. Look, how about you come to the ring with me tonight, and I'll call out Lance Storm, beat him up, take his title, get revenge for you, and show you some things while I'm at it." Sounds like a good plan to me. And then Christian just walks away while Edge just kind of stands there like dumbfounded, like, is he serious? No worker improvements, but we do go on to our next angle, I should say. I was about to say our next match, but I forgot about this angle for some reason. So we come back from our commercial break. We have a C rating. And Edge and Christian, they're both in the ring. Christian takes the mic and he says, "Now, in case you guys missed Raw this week, my brother Edge accepted Lance Storm's open challenge for the Canadian Championship. And lost. I know, pretty pathetic. I'm just joking, Edge, calm down. But today is a new day. A new show under a new brand. So Lance Storm, I thought I'd play to your ego a little bit. Being that this is WCW's first Smackdown, and I was hoping that open challenge was still open, because I'm a full-blooded Canadian, and I'm ready to become the Canadian champion." Of course, after a few seconds pass, Lance Storm's music finally hits, and he makes his way to the entryway, and he says, "My ego? I think it's your ego that you're trying to play to. Don't try to play me like a fool. I know exactly what you're trying to do. You're trying to prove that you're better than Edge, but I promise you, I'm not the right guy to try to prove that experiment right on, because you're not on my level. But you know what, Christian? That open challenge is still open, and you are Canadian, so you want a Canadian Championship match? You've got it." And we have our match. No worker improvements, unfortunately. We move on to said match, which gets a B-, not too shabby. In a decent match, Lance Storm defeating Christian in 9 minutes and 46 seconds with a last call after we had a distraction from Edge. Lance Storm making his 5th defense of the WCW Canadian Championship. So the way I'd imagine this happen is Edge not really distracting Christian on purpose, more of Christian distracting himself, because I'd imagine maybe like Christian having Lance Storm down or something, and then looks over at Edge and starts taunting him, seeing, "This is what you should have been doing, blah, blah, blah," I don't know, something like that. And then as he turns around, Lance Storm is up, hits the last call super kick, 1, 2, 3, retains the championship while Edge just kind of sits there laughing. So Lance Storm had an in-ring performance of a B-, Christian had an in-ring performance of a C+, and it gained back some heat for that feud. Lance Storm is also improving in performance, so can't complain there. We then move on to our next segment, which gets a C. We see Rey Mysterio Jr. and Billy Kidman. They're hanging out backstage. I'm also going to sneeze. Hold on. Okay, I think we got the sneeze out of the way. I wasn't sure if I was about to sneeze again, but either way. Billy Kidman and Rey, they're hanging out backstage when Dean Malenko approaches. And I'd imagine, they were sitting down, so now they kind of just stand up. Like, things get a little tense. A WWF guy approaches them, you know what I mean? Malenko then says, "Hey, boys, now don't worry. I'm not here to cause any problems. We're all friends here. Let's not let this war ruin that. Now, I've held that Cruiserweight Championship before. And I was also the former WWF Light Heavyweight Champion, in a title you retired after your victory at SummerSlam. Congratulations, by the way. But I'm sure you got my message last week after your title defense. But in case you missed it, I want a shot at that title." That's when Gregory Helms, who wasn't even there, rushes into the hard crowd and he goes, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, you're a WWF guy. You can't challenge for a WCW title." And Malenko just looks at him kind of like, "Are you stupid?" And he goes, Are you kidding? A WCW guy is literally holding a WWF title right now. That's when, Gregory Helms is like, whatever, details. Kidman then he's already standing, but Kidman then chimes in. He says, now wait a minute. Helms, you lost to Rey last week. And Dean, no offense, but I'm next in line for a shot. Right, Rey? And that's when Rey finally chimes in. He says, all right, look, I don't care who I face. I never had and never will. I go out there and I put on a great performance no matter what. So, if you three want to fight me, settle it yourselves. Go out there, have a triple threat match, and whoever wins the triple threat match, I'll see at the pay-per-view this month. And then he just kind of walks away. So Rey's getting better at his gimmick. Tori Wilson did help Kidman during that segment. That's a bit of a spoiler, isn't it? And Rey's developing better performance skills, so all in all, not a bad angle, especially when someone like Rey Mysterio is improving. So we go on to our next match. We get a B- and about that had decent wrestling. Wow, a B- for these three? That's really good. Decent wrestling, but little heat. Dean Malenko defeating Gregory Helms and Billy Kidman in 8 minutes and 18 seconds. When Malenko defeated Gregory Helms with the Texas Cloverleaf submission hold. He also carried the match in terms of in-ring performance. Rey Mysterio was on commentary for this match. I'm not sure if we can show that off. Yes, we can. As you see, Michael Cole, Paul Heyman, and there's Rey Mysterio Jr., so we had him commentating over this match because one of these three men were going to be his number one contender, that man now being Dean Malenko. Malenko is getting better at his gimmick. That's promising. He also got an in-ring performance of a B-, Gregory Helms at a C-, and Billy Kidman at a C, so Helms was the weakest, but not by much. And that gained some heat for our Cruiserweight Championship feud. Gregory Helms is also improving in Rumble skills. And, yeah. I guess we can go ahead and book that in for Invasion, which, as you saw, I didn't have Rey Mysterio name drop it because technically Invasion's not a thing yet. We're just under the operation that there's a pay-per-view coming up, I guess. I don't know. WCW Cruiserweight Championship. Dean Malenko, representing the WWF, take on Rey Mysterio Jr., representing WCW. Alright, cool. I already checked the worker improvements. Moving on to our next segment, we get an A-star. Hell yes. An A-star, we see The Rock backstage. He's getting ready, warming up for his match with Chris Benoit. When Kurt Angle walks in, and Rock just looks at me and says, "The hell do you want?" And then Angle responds, "Hey, Rock, so I saw that you're facing Ben," and then before he can even complete his sentence, Rock goes, "Nah, or stop right there. You don't get to just walk in The Rock's locker room, and you certainly don't get to come into The Rock's locker room looking to get in The Rock's business. See, The Rock knows why you're here, Kurt Angle. The Rock knows all about your issues with Benoit and Ric Flair. But The Rock simply just does not care. And trust me, The Rock does not need your help." And then Angle goes, "But Rock." And then Rock goes, "But Rock." No buts. None. The Rock doesn't want to hear it. Especially from a monkey trait for your monkey trader ass. You're lucky The Rock doesn't put you down with a rock bottom right here. And you can bet your ass if The Rock sees you out there, he will indeed lay the holy hot hell smackdown on you. And that's not a warning. That's a promise. And then The Rock walks off while Kurt just sits there kind of like, what? So they were both off script. Kurt really didn't say much, but he enjoyed not saying much unscripted. Both of them enjoyed not being scripted, though. And Rock looked good, as usual. No worker improvements, though. We move on to our next segment, which gets a B+. We see Ric Flair backstage with Chris Benoit. He's psyching him up for the next match. The next match, but his match against The Rock. And he says, "All right, champ, tonight you got a tough opponent in front of you. Rock is no joke, but he's also not a double champion." Oh, my alarm went off. Sorry about that, guys. You probably heard that. But he's also not a double champion. He's also not the Canadian Crippler. And he's also not the protege to the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Woo! And he's certainly not better than you. Because you're the best in the world, baby. And tonight, you're going to put an end to The Rock and take him out of this war once and for all. Now, come on, champ. Woo! Benoit looked good. And I guess it advanced the Invasion storyline somehow. Oh, because of both of them. But either way, we move on to our next match, which is a solid B. In an exceptional match, The Rock defeating Chris Benoit in 13 minutes and a second by a pinfall with the Rock Bottom after we have a distraction from Kurt Angle. The Rock had an in-ring performance of an A star. Benoit had an in-ring performance of an A. It continues the Benoit Kurt Angle. I'm surprised the Invasion angle didn't move along with this one either, but whatever, I guess. Two things I kind of want to talk about real quick. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, and it kind of goes along with something with the ratings here. So you see we got a B, and we have 2 stars who are not only highly over, but excellent in the ring. Now, one would assume that, maybe these 2 should got an A or something, right? But from what I read about Total Extreme Wrestling 2016, any match under 20 minutes, which this one, as you can see, was 13 and a second, any match like under 20 minutes is automatically only going to get like a B+. Like that's the highest grade they can get from what I understand. Like anything under 20 minutes can't get an A- or an A or anything. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if it said A-. I'm just pretty sure I'm pretty sure it read anything under 20 minutes can't get an A. I just kind of wanted to mention that to you guys real quick. And the way I'd imagine this match ending is that, we're having a nice back and forth contest. And I'd imagine Angle coming out and he starts attacking Flair. Like him and Flair, he goes to get in the ring. Like Flair goes to pull him down. Angle then starts attacking Flair. And the two, mostly Angle, but the two are trading blows, which leads to Benoit getting distracted. Rock turns him around. Rock bottom. 1, 2, 3. Gets the victory. So match deserved better announcing. Rock had an A star. Benoit had an A. I think I already talked about all that. No worker improvements. This was our storytelling match of the night. We move on to the next segment that gets a B+. After the match is over, Ric Flair, he pulls Chris Benoit out of the ring while Angle dares them both to step back in the ring, or he's just sitting there like, get in here, come on, whatever. He turns around and he helps The Rock up, but once Rock, he sees who is pulling him up, he pulls Kurt Angle in, hits him with the Rock Bottom, then looks around at the crowd, hits Kurt Angle with the people's elbow, closes the show, and sends the crowd home happy. So basically what happened here is Angle didn't heed The Rock's advice. And after helping The Rock out, instead of, just getting out of the ring as fast as he can, he decided to help Rock up and paid for it with a Rock Bottom and a people's elbow as Rock kept to his promise. And he was the real star in this segment, so can't complain about that. We end the show and we get a B+, increasing our popularity in 10 regions. In my opinion, that was a good show. We had like 3 A ratings and one of them was an A star. But I also think that that was the same rating as Raw, so who knows. Ooh, Wally Yamaguchi. I have no idea who Wally Yamaguchi is. I just thought his last name was kind of funny. Ooh, Halloween. I do know who Halloween is. Alright, so that's just drug test. The huge. What do we got here? Oh no, Booker. Please don't be steroids. You know what? Steroids is just fine. We already talked about that. But please, oh please don't be something bad. It's just steroids. Alright. Well, as I've said in the past, and I have gone in and edited some things. One of you Nerds and Geeks commented on one of the videos in the past saying that I can just go and edit the individual workers, which I did. I guess I didn't do Booker T because he hadn't been caught yet. But either way, Booker T has been identified as a steroid user by the drug testing policy. Yada, yada, yada. So we talked about this, and since the steroid thing seems to happen quite a lot in here, I'm no longer going to be suspending people, especially top guys like Booker T, because let's be honest, he's our WCW champion. We can't be, just suspending him for 30 days, especially when we have a pay-per-view coming up. So we're going to fine him. That's how it works when with the steroids. Nothing of a result happened, by the way, but I'm sure you guys read that. So before we end this off, let's check our storylines. C+ for this Cruiserweight feud. Everything's going really good. The only match or rating or storyline that's not a B is the Cruiserweight feud, so that's fine. Either way, Nerds and Geeks, my name has been OMGWTF, LOLTWBRB. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, do me a favor, leave me a comment, like, and subscribe if you have not already. And as always, don't forget to share this with your friends, Facebook, and Twitter to help the channel grow. I will see you guys for Sunday Night Heat, but until then, have a wonderful day.